Hi, everyone, and welcome to Cup of Three. My name is Ashley. I'm joined by my fiance and co-host, Agu, and friend and co-host, Mabel. Hello, everyone. On this very, very sunny morning, we want to talk about Married at First Sight, Season 12, Episode 8, Face to Face. So this is when, we see everybody, having their friends over to their new apartments and, kind of getting to hang out with their new spouse for a longer period of time than the wedding. Everyone's catching up with their friends and spilling the tea on what happened over the honeymoons, which was a lot for some people and very little for other people. So let's start with Brianna and Vincent. So we kind of were left with a cliffhanger with them last time where it was they had this big fight because he felt disrespected because she laughed that he spilled champagne. And it was this whole thing. And then he left and wanted to go home for the night, and it was a whole thing. So we learned that he just went to the parking garage and then he turned around and came back. So do you feel like they kind of resolved that? Because it didn't seem like they talked a lot about it more.
I don't know. It sounded like they weren't listening to each other too much. Because Brianna was very much what do you mean? Well, first of all, she was you said you're going to go home, and where's home? This is home. And she was well, that's just a joke. That's how my family talks. It's no big deal. And I mean, it's a lot of the same things we've heard with them before. It's they have two very different styles of communicating, and they're telling the other person to meet them where they are, and that's about it.
Yeah. I mean, his conversation with his friend, I think was very. I think he needed that to have someone who's who's kind of on your side, who's yeah, that's not a good reason to be mad. I get it. There's sometimes that.
Wait, but why are we mad? I don't get it.
What did she? And I like that his cousin or his friend was "Oh, Champagne Vinny." If someone else said that probably would have been an issue. So, but yeah, I think that was a small thing that kind of turned into a bigger issue, and I'm hoping overall it's that they'll be able to, just brush past it. I don't know. It's still weird to me how angry he got about that, and part of me thinks that this is insecurity thing, but I don't know. Maybe he really doesn't like champagne on his shirt. And I can't disagree with the guy. And I do get his point when he was if that was me, I would go over and try to help her clean it up. And I get that, that's what you wanted her to do, but you can't then be angry. She's a different person. Exactly. How you would react and how she would react. Exactly. That's not. It's not fair.
I still think this is a thing where they need to have a love languages conversation, because I think he just would really appreciate and kind of needs those words of affirmation from her. She has not, I can't recall any time that she's talked about him and said anything that she's really mad about or doesn't like about him. She's really all about him. She's excited to be paired with him. There's nothing but positive feelings there. And I think if they could have a conversation where they land on if you were just to vocalize some of these things to me and kind of get into that habit, that would mean so much to me. And that would not as something that he's dependent on to have self-esteem and be proud of himself and stuff, but as just kind of a reminder that that's the way she can communicate to him that she is in that relationship for him. And she likes him, and she's not going anywhere, and she wants to work through stuff. And and also there might be ways that, he could learn about how to communicate his care for her that she would appreciate. And
good point.
I feel that's kind of I hope that's something they can get to eventually.
Yeah. And I think it's one of the things too, the words of affirmation. We know how crazy she is about him and how much she wants to commit, but does he know? Has she told all this to him yet?
That's fair.
Right. Yeah. And she just might not have thought to. She might think it seems obvious, and it's not any bad intentions or anything, but an opportunity to get closer.
Yeah, especially since he's so he vocalizes how much he's crazy about her a lot. Yeah. So I get I get that he's like, hey, I'm doing this because this is what I like. Like, I get that, and that's something that they could definitely work on. And, maybe he's just not the type of person that you can do the little jokes and things like that with, and that's okay. Like, I think that might be overall their thing is that, like, because it seems like he's okay with it with other people, but when it's with his person, he's worried that they're, like, trying to hint at something, and that's, I get that. So, like, especially the way he describes himself as being very cautious, he's not going to say, oh, this thing, I find it very annoying. He's probably going to do that whole, like, hinting thing. So then he's looking at anything she says as her doing that as well. So I get it overall. It was still a hilarious thing to fight about, but I think
Champagne Vinny.
they'll be good.
Yeah.
What did you think about their family meetup?
Yeah, that was great. They all got along super well. They were just like happy for it. They're kids in this moment because like it's both the moms were there. Yeah.
Yeah, and his mom wasn't able to attend the wedding, right?
No.
Do we know why? I'm curious about that.
I mean, if she lives in DR, maybe like that. Maybe
That
it's
she had
still
to
too
travel.
short notice.
That wasn't going to happen.
Pretty sure you need
Yeah.
a vaccine like confirmation before you.
Oh yeah. Oh, if that's the case, that's really a bummer that she couldn't like make it because of something like that. If she did want to.
I don't know. My brother didn't get the vaccine confirmation when he came. My aunt did, so maybe it's not a requirement. I don't know.
Okay. Yeah, but I thought it was just we were talking about this a little before we started recording, but just the like the language difference. So like there's a lot of like hybrid English Spanish happening and a lot of like hand gestures and thank you. I don't know why I couldn't think of the word Spanglish. And a lot of like hand gestures and very physical comedy and his whole esnak thing.
Yes.
Like,
wait, let me translate. It's not.
Mom, esnak. You know what I'm saying? And like
That
even
was
Brianna's like starting to learn, like she's asking, how do I say this in Spanish, and like learning kind of the basics. And I just thought it was like very wholesome of like clearly everyone was a little bit nervous to like get together and stuff, but the more they kind of loosened up and were able to laugh together and like share some food, like I think that's just something where like it's going to be a couple of times of hanging out before it's like really comfortable. But I think that's true for any group like this coming together.
And Brianna was trying to like learn some of the little bit of Spanish and like how do I say this and like communicate to his mom that way. And she had a pretty good accent when she said the couple words that she did. So I was like, all right, that's a start. And like that also goes a long way, like for someone who like is already like, because she's the one person in the conversation who doesn't speak like English as fluently as everyone else does. So like it's a way to kind of like extend out and to be like, hey, I want to include you.
Be like, I'm going to put myself out on a limb and maybe sound silly, like trying to a new language and everything because I want to get to know you and I'm serious about this. Like I was just really proud of how all that like played out where I was like, yes, Brianna, like, like be open-minded, ask questions and try to just be a good partner to him.
Yeah, that was very sweet. That was very sweet. Because, like, you could tell that Vincent the whole time was very conscious of his mom, like, wanting to feel, like, included. Because, like, he kept translating and making sure that, like, she felt like she could be a part of the conversation. And, Brianna is clearly doing the same thing now. Like, hey, both people here want you to feel included. And that's what they were doing. So that's great. I really did like that. Because that happens a lot with the words. It's like, let's just like make it. And this is something we were also chatting before recording that like a lot of the time some of the words like it's just easier to say in English. We'll just add something to it like a snack instead of saying the actual Spanish word for snack. That happens a lot with the words. So that was really cool. They just like and they just turned into this massive joke with everyone there. So
it's so like that entire scene was so relatable to me because like having a family member who speaks majority of a different language and how you, like you're saying, how you have to be a lot more physical with your humor, or like I find when I'm talking to family that doesn't speak English as much, I'm a lot more like huggy. Like you have to be very obvious that you're affectionate because you can't really vocalize it as much. So I'm, like I'm grabbing a person by the arm or like stuff like that. Like, hey, we're we're close, a way of
We're
showing
good,
that.
yeah.
And then the whole, like you said, like the forming new words. Like I mean, Ashley's heard me talk to family members, and it's just like Igbo, English word. Igbo, like I don't know the Igbo word for like taxes. I don't know the Igbo word for like,
It's the best.
yeah, or like I know it for cell phone, but it's easier to just say cell phone. Like it's just stuff like that where, so I was like, oh, this is too real.
Right.
It gets to a point where sometimes you'll like be in your office talking to like your family or whatever, and I'm just like around the house and like, I love you, but when you talk to your family, you get real loud. So like, there's no not hearing things. And at a certain point, like it's just in the background. I'm like, do I know Igbo now? Nope, that was just English.
That was English.
I'm not like accidentally learning Igbo.
It's true.
Yep. Basically.
Yeah, it was just really cute. It reminds me of I did a little bit of volunteering with the like International Office of Educate, whatever it's called, in college, like where the international students. Yeah, and so there was like a English exchange kind of program. I don't know exactly what they call it. Basically, I would go like once or twice a week and hang out with like the international students, and we would just like do different activities as like a hey, let's like get to know each other and like kind of learning English thing. And so we would do everything from like decorating gingerbread houses together to like we did a lot of charades games. So it was like you're acting something out and everyone's trying to guess like what you're doing. So it's very funny because it was like it's very uncomfortable and you're trying to it just kind of lightens everything because it's like you have room to be creative and make mistakes, and like just sitting across the table from one another and trying to talk would have been like so intense and so hard that like having an activity and having just more things going on, more ways to communicate than just like your actual words is I found very helpful, and especially like getting to know them and like having them feel comfortable like they're in a completely new place. So yeah,
and you realize like facial expressions matter a lot, like making her smile more often or something like that, because like
so true.
Yeah.
Also, I love making jokes. Most of them are not funny, but I really enjoy it. And like that killed me when I was just in different places and you're not able, like, just the jokes don't travel. It's just not, it's a different culture, it's a different language. So then like you're just doing like a lot of like second grade humor stuff at this point. Like it's so basic. And even little things like the ability to like have a nuanced statement, it's hard to do. And I'm like, I must sound like a 2nd-year-old right now. Like I'm just like
a 2nd-year-old.
I can barely speak English too. But it's just so I imagine if she was speaking Spanish, like we would see a very different side of her mom. And in the beginning, it seemed like she was a little hesitant, but she was just hesitant because she was trying to understand what was going on, like. So
also there's cameras in your face. You're not going to be used to
That's
that.
true.
You're meeting your son's new wife and his mom, and her mom, and I think her sister was there. Maybe am I remembering that right? But anyways, like it's a lot to process.
Yeah.
And it is. Yeah, I totally agree. Anything else on Brianna and Vincent? Big things we noticed in the episode. Champagne Vinny. Disney princess
whatever you
Brianna.
do when you're around Vinny, do not say that's so Vinny of you. Like he will probably fight you.
Well, no, unless you're really close to him
Only
and you're like laughing and eventually it'll be okay. It's just
I know like someone's watching this show and they're going to try it. Don't do it. Don't do it to yourself. But yeah, they're great.
All right, so let's go over to Eric and Virginia. So they just get back from the honeymoon, and it sounds like they both have weddings on like the same weekend. So his brother and then her friend. So she's gone for several days, and he's like taking care of her dog and stuff, which is really cute. when he was walking the dogs and was just he met up with
Ryan.
Ryan? And he was like, it's like my dog is a lot like me and her dog's a lot like her. And you look down and his dog is like First of all, its eyes are going in completely different directions, and it is standing completely still and just kind of like existing. And hers is just like, like getting so upset with the other one.
That was so funny.
favorite.
Like
That was my
the
favorite.
camera on the dog is just like still. And then like you see Roxy and the dog's like all over the place and like, oh my
The
gosh,
dog's
was this
taking
dog
shots. You're
trained?
like,
Like,
Yeah. Roxy. Also, like the dog's ear was always like flapped the wrong way, and I'm like, help the dog, put his ear back. What are you doing?
So I kind of want to start when she got back. They were talking about how they're kind of learning how to be apart and how much communication they want, and they kind of said they hinted at something like checking in every 1 to 2 hours of like, hey, this is what I'm doing, and then going about your day. How do you feel about that level of communication when your partner's gone for like a couple days?
when I'm out of town, I'm busy. Like, I'm at my friend's wedding. I'm not checking my phone all the time like that. Like,
Facts.
I'll text you when I go to bed if I remember. If I don't, I'll text you in the morning when I wake up.
I mean, the last one we recorded, we mentioned how like that was a problem with me. Like as soon as they said 1 to 2 hours, I'm like, oh, like if that's the standard, he's gonna think. If I was hypothetically dating him, he would think I'm cheating because there's no way that's not happening. Like I'll send you like 2 for the whole day, 2 or 3. Like I'll be around, but yeah, it's brutal. I don't know. What do you think, Ashley? Is that the proper number?
I don't know. It just seems like an awful lot. Because like you're saying, Mabel, if you're out of town, you're busy. You have stuff going on. Like I think about when, before pandemic times, when I would be out of town, it would be to like travel to, I work for a company that's in another state. So like I'd be there for like almost a week and I'm busy all the time. And so the idea of having to be like, okay, I'm doing this now. Okay, I'm doing this now. And like being on the phone all the time would be overwhelming. Like I will check in at least like a couple times during the day, but I'm not trying to be like, all right, going into this workshop, like have a great lunch, your tuna sandwich, because I know what you're having. Like it's just too much. Like it's okay to be you're 2 separate people with independent lives who are in a partnership, and that doesn't mean you have to share every single little thing. It is okay to be like have your own time. So to me that was very excessive, but everyone's different, but to me that's coming from a place of anxiety and not like I don't know, like that's
what I was thinking too. The thing that kind of like stuck out to me was his like lack of trust a little bit with her, because he has already built up this idea in his head that she wants to be 100% independent. She never wants to talk to him. She never wants to check in on him, ask for permission, as she put it, which was not really permission. But like he's already built up this kind of like idea of how she wants to be. So like it's almost like he feels the need to tighten his reins a little more when it's only making it worse.
Yeah. Also, that's a good way of saying it. Like, I think it's coming out of a little bit of insecurity, which I get. Like, this is a stranger. I think part of him is still, like, surprised that they're together. So, like, there's a little bit of insecurity there. But the whole... What was the line? Like, well, okay. So if I can kind of push us forward a little bit, where he was meeting with her friends, and like that whole conversation where he and I forget the friend's name, but they're out on the balcony talking.
Oh, her friend, yeah.
This is the most ridiculous. Like clearly that friend, like she had just been complaining all weekend to him about how like I'm sure every single time she sent a text message in those 2 hours thing, she was like, I gotta talk to him again. Are you seeing this? Are you seeing this? Oh gosh. What's the ball and chain thing?
Yeah,
like, isn't
ball
that
and chain.
Normally it's like the guy saying that about his wife, who's like, need to check in with me. It's like I enjoy that actually. That's great. Like, when it turned there.
Like, oh my god, Eric, I can't talk. We're doing body shots right now.
I'm gonna sleep on his couch tonight, okay? Just
My guy friends.
I
Guy
mid
friend.
Jello shot right
oh my
now.
gosh. Yeah, I can totally imagine. Because, like, I mean, and she was also drunk the whole weekend, probably. So she's just, like, no filter. And so she's fine. And, you know,
For sure.
just letting it all with, yeah. This is
She
her
doesn't need
friend
cameras on
group,
her
so-
face. Yeah. This is her first time to let go.
Exactly.
Yeah.
First time,
That's
yeah.
fair.
And that was very much that conversation. It was, like, it was very weird, in my opinion. Like, forced, first of all, it felt like. And, like, you're now going to take on this big brother vibe. Like, I don't know. And then
Yeah.
they're talking and he's just like all about, I just want to make sure you don't control her. And he's all up, and he never said what his real concern was. Eric was never like, hey, I just want to make sure that like you two as friends aren't going to try to make a move on her and you guys are just friends and nothing's going to happen. Like he was never that open and honest in his part of the conversation. But for some reason he was like, oh, that conversation was great. I feel so much better. I'm so glad that we were able to talk. I fully trust. I'm like, what? Okay.
To me, that
Sure.
was like, oh, you guys are drunk. Like, that's every drunken conversation that you, like,
Yeah.
feel like you poured your heart out to this stranger. You
Right.
walk away, you're like, this guy's my best friend. Like, I felt like that was exactly it. And I clearly nothing about Virginia's guy friends, as she puts it, which to me is like, they're your friends. You don't have to say guy friend. Like, what? But clearly there was nothing about her guy friend group that was in some way intimidating or threatening to Eric.
Yeah.
So I don't know what was there or what wasn't there, but he was fine with it. I think he just needed to like get a sense of their dynamic. But it also goes back to that thing of just like, it's a trust thing. Like if you're
It
not
is.
worried about your partner and you trust that they're not going to put themselves in a, you know, knowingly put themselves in a situation where maybe other people are misreading their intentions or something, then like you don't have a problem. It's like you can't, if you're concerned about like Virginia like getting swept away by someone else, like that if she's going to be unfaithful, it doesn't matter if you're like not letting her hang out with her guy friends or you're like not letting her go somewhere. Like you would have to keep her in a cage to keep her away from the rest of humanity. You know what I mean? Like there has to be this level of understanding that it's like, I'm gonna, you know, be straight with you, you're gonna be straight with me, and unless that is broken sometime, we don't really need to like double check that that's still existing.
But even then, like they just met, so like he is he's having these concerns, and they've only been together for like what 2 weeks at this point, and
That's true. That's true.
I don't know. Like it could also be this sense of like, oh my gosh, like the honeymoon was just like all out party, and so maybe that's how she always is, and this is all I know about her, so this is how she's gonna be with everyone. I'm not any different, and it's just like there could be like this running train of thoughts in his head of how Virginia is with everybody, not just, you know, him. I don't know. There could be a lot more there because they just met.
For sure. For sure.
Gosh, could you imagine if they were just dating? Like he would be constantly convinced like that she was with somebody else. Like he's already like that now, and they're committed. Like if in the first 2 months of them dating and they aren't committed to each other, he would be just all nerves.
He just thinks she's a child. Like he just thinks that she is immature
was
and
the
hasn't
thing.
grown up to like her age yet.
I think that was the thing that I'm starting to find a little bit grating. It's just the number of times that he's like, oh, I get it, I've been married before. Oh, I get it, I was 26. Oh, I get it. Like no, like it's so, I don't, not demeaning, but it's this weird like
Condescending.
it's condescending. Thank you, that's the right word. Like just ridiculously so. And at the end of the day, like if I think he needs to be okay with her just staying this way. If she does turn into the stay at home with you and watch Netflix all night type of person, lovely, fantastic. Clearly that's what he's looking for. But if she doesn't turn into that, you have to be okay with it. And right now it feels like he's waiting for her to grow out of this, which I get. Like, I think she drinks a bit much for my liking, but it's like, if that's how you've met her, I think you need to be okay with her staying that way. And if that's not going to work for you, maybe this isn't the relationship for you. And I mean, this is just like all the, I feel like typically when we see this, it's the, oh, no, he's a piece of crap now, but he's gonna outgrow this, and like 9 times out of 10 that doesn't actually happen. So like,
Yeah. I hate when people like push that onto the other person. So like, I mean, we even just talked about that with Vinny and Brianna a little bit. They're like, this is how you should be. This is how this is where you need to be headed. And like Eric is making it very clear that she needs to be headed into a more mature direction, and thinking about, like, he always puts his hand up, we're married now, like all this, like, oh my gosh, like he always does that, and it's so annoying because he's like, I know everything, and I get so frustrated when people do that. Even like to me, when people are just like, I totally understand, I totally know what you're getting or going through, and it can be like any situation, and it's like, no, you don't. And like, just to tell me that like it's gonna be whatever, it's gonna be different, it's gonna just be okay, it's gonna be better. It's just like, you don't actually know enough to be able to tell me what it's gonna be like.
And it's like that instinct to be like, I'm gonna tell you about what your situation's like versus tell me what your situation is like.
Right.
Because
seriously, like,
everyone, 10 people going through the same sort of life situation are going to experience it very different ways, and earlier when you guys were talking about the like wanting other people to change thing, I just had this flashback of Christina and Henry from last season. And he was like talking about how he was like a little insecure and like had some confidence things that he wanted to work on, and she was like, okay, so do you think that's something you could change soon?
It's like a job interview, so like, can you get those skills like tomorrow?
The oversimplification of that was just like, oh honey. But I feel like that's what everyone's doing again, where it's like, okay, do you think you can maybe stop partying and change your entire lifestyle and personality for me soon? Because like, I'm trying to make a decision by decision day, and we only got so much time, so
Yeah, exactly. Also, like, I don't like, he's assuming that his way is the right way. I think that's the thing that ultimately, like, that I find annoying, is there's a way of looking at something from a you're trying to learn and you're curious. Actually, Ashley's probably mentioned this before. I'm probably taking your words here, but there's a difference between looking at something from curiosity and looking at it from judgment. And you can tell that he's looking at it from a judgmental point of view.
100%.
He will say he isn't, but you can tell he is. And I do not blame him. Like, I find myself doing that with a lot of her scenes too. Like when she's like, oh, I'm so hungover. And then 15 minutes later, she's taking shots of tequila. I'm like, well, you see, this is why you feel so shitty right now. Like, but you kind of have to just like let the person go through it, like, I, till this day, like, I someone trying to be all like preachy to me, 9 times out of 10, I'm like, oh, okay, I'll show you. I'm gonna go the exact opposite route.
I'm gonna go drink more.
Right. I know, right? What's right?
You just gotta let the person live through it. If let her go through this, and if she does want to change, she'll get to that conclusion herself, and just be there and be okay with it.
But like, even then, like, what if she is just that kind of person, a partier? Like, there are couples who grow old together and just are constant partiers because they find their other half that's the constant partier with them and doesn't want to change a thing about them, because that's who they are, and that's okay, because like, they are with that person who they are now, not like who they think that person's going to be in 5 years.
Yeah.
All right, let's go over to Haley and Jacob. I feel like they have kind of come back together a little bit. They've gotten past their first big argument in which Jacob was like, clearly you have a boyfriend, and because you don't love my 80s obsession.
This is clearly on you. Clearly on you. This can't be me.
I kind of have the feeling right now, and I want to hear what you guys think, that like that Jacob is genuinely trying and that Haley is kind of trying. I don't get the feeling that she's like really convinced yet that this is something that she wants to see through. Like, what are the vibes you're getting from them?
Yeah, that's a hard one, because what I'm noticing from Jacob is he's that kind of person to be like, all right, I gave an effort. That's it. Like, I'm done. I tried. You know, move on. And like, he's almost like expecting now the reward of all of his effort, quote, quote. Like, it's not a whole lot to begin with, but he's already expecting, like, why don't you love me? I mean, I put in effort for the first couple days. Like, that's enough, right? Yeah. And then on the other side, like, Haley's, I've never seen her this whole time as like fully committed either. She's more of like 1 foot in, 1 foot out kind of thing. And now is just like, oh, this is convenient to say I don't want to be in this anymore because look what he did. He, you know, is being terrible to me. And even her friend called her out, like, you're just dipping out quickly. Like, you're finding, you know, the first chance to be like, no, I'm out. So, I don't think either of them are really committed.
Yeah, I think it was one of the earlier episodes. Oh, actually, I think I said this. I'm going to give myself credit. I feel so good. Where they're compared to Greg and Deanna. Every single time I watch them now, that's all I can see. Like, I think she is definitely on the wait and see route. And I do think he's trying in terms of he's being very open with his communication. Yeah. But unlike Greg and Deanna, like, I think the thing Greg did so well that season was he was constantly pursuing and constantly flirting and constantly making it clear that he found her attractive. And like, he was going almost to like a caricature level of like, ooh, you're looking good. Ooh, like, you have to like, because she's so, you know, and rightfully so, I get why she's a little hesitant, but it's going to take a lot of that type of stuff and a long time of it too. So I think Jacob he felt like he was doing that and that they were on a good level, and then she pulled back, and I get why that was so jarring for him, because those first few days, that wasn't her. You could tell she was just trying to put on that face, and now she's showing the real her, which is fine, but it's very different from those first few days. And I don't know. I don't blame him. Like, I'm probably more of his personality type when it comes to that. Like, I think if I was in his situation, I would be like, okay, I've tried and it's not working. And then my next thought would be, we're just not attracted to each other. And that's totally fine. And I think he said this a few different times. Like, does she find me attractive? Like, if not, that's okay. Because I think that's the thing. If you're constantly pushing like that, at a certain point, it feels like you're trying to like convince them to like stay with you. And that's a very hard thing to do and get used to. And, you know, some people are great at that and they're okay. And they know, hey, she's not showing me attention. That doesn't mean I'm not great, because I know I'm great. I know this is a her thing. And being able to come at it from that mentality is what they would need for this to succeed. Agreed. And I just don't see that at this point. I think she, right now, this episode, after the conversation with her friends, you can tell that she's trying to do that, be a little bit more open. But even then, it's just like, you can tell it's not natural for her. Yeah. So it's unfortunate. I think if she was paired with someone else, it could work. If he was paired with someone else, I think he would work with probably almost anyone, honestly. Like, he's quirky. He's very, very quirky.
I don't know about that.
Yeah. Like, could you see him like an Amelia though? Like, they would be great. They would like, Amelia would be like all 80s. She'd be like, all right, fine, we're gonna do all 80s. Let's do this. I'm gonna have like 80 glasses and stuff like that.
She comes out in a leotard and some leg warmers.
Oh my gosh!
Like, hey boo,
neon leotard.
Leg warmers ready.
Yes, please. Pair up with the curlers in it. Oh yeah.
Scrunchies, yes.
The one thing though that got me was that like it may have been a joke when he said it, but he was like, yeah, all my past relationships, like, no, they were crazy. They were the crazy ones. Like,
yeah, like okay. Yeah, you had It takes two to tango, all right?
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really feel like with them, if they want to make this work, they need to completely reset expectations.
Yeah.
I think they're both thinking so short term that they're just completely missing the point of this. And like, look, if this is kind of a situation where you're jumping in and you have to be kind of ready for the long haul of, I think, being able to understand that there's going to be a lot of very awkward situations. There's going to be a lot of growing pains. This is a person who is completely new to you, and you are just smashing your lives together, and you're seeing if it works. And like, it's not going to fit perfectly right away. It's just not. Like, you have to like whittle down one area and like build up in one area until you finally get like a good join. And I think that Haley is like, and even her friend called it out of like, you're like, the second you see a red flag, like you're headed for the hills. Like this is a thing you do. And so like, kind of have some awareness around that. And I think I get the feeling that Haley thinks that like, there's not, if this is the right relationship, if this is a good relationship, there won't be any things that she doesn't like, and that it's just going to be completely smooth sailing. And you know, there's a difference between that and just like, oh, this energy is not good for me, like this isn't right. I don't think that's really the case. But she has to understand that like what you have done in the past hasn't achieved the result that you wanted, which is to be married, which is why you're here. So you're going to have to understand that your behavior will have to change in order to get that outcome. You're not going to be able to just like bounce when it gets hard and check out when it gets hard. Like, you have to understand that didn't, in Paige's words, to like foreshadow a little bit, this debt served you before. Like, you didn't get what you needed, what you wanted out of that. And so kind of put some faith in like just giving it a fair shot. And getting to know each other, slowing it down, actually getting like having real conversations. And I feel like there was like little moments that felt promising where like he was cleaning up the kitchen and she thanked him several times for doing that, and he complimented her outfit and her white jeans, and like I said that several times that she looked nice. And I was like, good, here's some basics. Acknowledge what you're seeing your partner doing, like compliment, you know, whatever, when you notice something, like great instincts. But like it's that times 1,000 every single day, and you're making that choice every single day. It's not the big stuff, it's all this little stuff that adds up.
And what you were just saying makes me think of like, she needs a little more ownership in the relationship, because right now it seems like she's all right sitting back and evaluating him and just being like, do you know how like a judge does when you're like sitting behind like listening, like American Idol? It's like, I'm just gonna sit and listen. Like, that's kind of how it seems she's approaching the relationship right now. It's like,
yeah, like, impress me.
Right?
Yeah, exactly.
Entertain me, peasant.
You have 15 minutes.
Make me love you.
Yeah. Also, those jeans were okay.
Dang.
What's the thing?
That's the one compliment he could give.
Okay. I am starting to like not understand fashion anymore. I think I'm realizing that. Like, I was all about the skinny jeans. I understood that, and now we're at the jeans that are like massive. I'm just like, I don't get it. I don't understand.
Gotta
like,
keep up with the times.
Like, this is what my dad used to do and like iron his jeans. Like, are we gonna go back to that? Are we gonna have that be a thing now? Because I'm not doing that. Yeah,
high-waisted belt buckle.
Gosh. So, but yeah, that's a great observation. Like, it's basically her kind of waiting back, and I get it. Like, he's quirky. He's definitely quirky. And his friend kind of summarized it pretty well too when he said, like, you're gonna have to be very clear with him. Like, if you're waiting for him to pick up social cues, that might not happen, and that's okay. And a lot of people are like that. So you got to be like, hey, could you help me with this? Or, hey, let's try changing your fashion sense. Like, this could be a fun thing they do together where she's like bringing new types of clothing. It's like, hey, you know this thing you do with like super tight whatevers? Try this. This is called a shirt with buttons.
This is called a dark wash jean.
Exactly. Yeah. And I think that's so I think there's definitely potential there. Um, yeah, there's potential.
I feel like Jacob is the perfect, if he didn't get on Married at First Sight, he would have been the perfect candidate for Queer Eye, where they like come in and redo your house. Have you seen the show on Netflix?
No, I haven't.
So
If he
it's
would,
these
yeah.
5 guys, and they come and like they'll teach you, like one of them will help you with like a makeover and like kind of find a style that works for you, and like what type of clothing and fit kind of aligns with like your identity, whatever.
Okay.
And they'll come in and like do your house up and like do a makeover there. Like one will teach you how to cook. Like it's it's the best. But I feel like Jacob, he has this like clear design direction that he really likes, but I think he doesn't really know how to put it together in a way that's like kind of modern, because I think you can take inspiration from all different like things, but then kind of put a twist on it where it like kind of works in like a adult wardrobe. And I don't know if he's figured that out yet.
Yeah.
He kind of is like all right, I know what I want and I'm done kind of thing. Like, 80s, this clothing style, steak and eggs. Like,
This is my identity in one little box.
I'm done.
Yeah.
Yeah, just going too hard with it. Like,
Oh, yeah.
it's funny to have the first few 80 jokes were funny. Now we're pushing it.
And it's just such a broad thing. You know what I mean? It's like being like, I don't know, if I were just obsessed with like, I don't know.
the 90s.
No, I was trying to think of like just a very, very broad thing of like, I just love music or something, where like everything about my style is like, oh, my shirt has headphones on it, and like I've got like, speakers all around the house, and all my posters are music, and like literally everything is about music, as just such a broad thing that somehow I guess it's hard for me to like make that connection of like, what is it about this thing that's like that speaks to you so much? Is it like the culture? Is it the like the music? Is it the how movies were at that time? It's
Also,
just so broad.
Like, he was a child in the 80s, right? So he doesn't remember the 80s. So it's just it seems like he's going off of just pop culture, like stuff. It's pop, like media is
like
always
style.
It's always but like it's always rose-colored glasses. Like, if you were in the 80s, it was probably very different from the way we view the 80s now. So I think he's probably latching on to like 80s movies, because he's talked about the Goonies. He's talked about like all the karate movie. Like, it seems like that's the thing that he's latching on to. And I get it. It's a lot of great movies from that time period.
Just
you're
a
right.
lot.
He'd be great for that show, though.
I'm gonna have to watch that. That's I didn't know about that show.
Oh, yeah,
I mean,
it's
I knew
great.
about
It's
the
on
show, but I didn't know
Netflix.
that's what it was about.
Yeah, they like revived it recently, and it's very
Okay.
It's like a very wholesome watch, because it's very centered around like finding genuine people who just like could use a little bit of support and guidance or in whatever way, and it's very sweet.
I used to like the show What Not to Wear, which was on
That's
TLC.
my favorite.
Yeah.
I grew up on that.
So it
I
makes
grew
me
up
think of-
on Pimp My Ride. No, I'm kidding. Sort of.
Yes.
Those cars were
and,
so impractical.
Hit My Ride, and what's the other one? The Crib, the Welcome. What? Wow,
Oh,
Cribs.
MTV Cribs.
MTV Cribs. Yeah.
That's the best one. Was it Method Man? Where like
Oh my
a lot of the guys used to like rent houses, and Method Man's like, no, I'm gonna actually show you my actual house. He's like, all right, so this is where my buddy, he sleeps on the floor over here. In my refrigerator, there's no food. Like, it was the best,
no.
most
Oh my
realistic
gosh.
thing.
I would watch those shows, and I was like, what are you actually like, using with the space? Like, if really Pimp My Ride, I was like, you just took away all the trunk space.
And added a pool.
It's just-
You added a pool to the back of a car. How is that? What are you going to do
Is
with
it a
this?
fish tank? What is the?
Oh, they've done that too. They've added
Oh
they've
my
added
God.
everything.
Oh
my
my
God.
gosh. Seriously though, I was like, what are you doing?
I mean, I guess when you're rich enough, you can do whatever you want.
Seriously.
That was so 90s though. Like just the 90s were garbage. Garbage.
Hey, I like some of the clothing style from the 90s and the music. I love music.
What music?
Hip hop and R&B. Hip hop. I realized that. I was like,
Okay.
that's too generic.
Okay.
Hip
I
hop
was
and
like,
R&B
what?
from the 90s.
I was like, what? You were into like Nirvana. I mean, no shade. I
Hey,
had my Nirvana
I have
phase, but
I have some of a little bit of everything on my phone for music. Every little genre, you'll find a little bit of something.
okay. TLC's fine. You're right. They can stay.
Yeah.
They stay. They're 90s.
But not 80s, as we
Usher and
established.
Chili, or is that?
No,
2000s?
80s music is actually better than 90s music, in my humble opinion. But
What genre?
pop. A lot of the pop was pretty good.
The pop in the 90s was the boy bands and the Christina Aguileras and the, you know, Ali. Well, no, like, who? Christina
like you're saying that like
and,
it was a
Britney
good thing.
Spears and, like, hey, we had some good pop in the 90s.
Britney still can't sing. Oh gosh, I'm about to get.
Okay.
You have to watch the new
I'm about to get
documentary on
myself in
Britney.
trouble.
Oh my gosh, you have to watch it. It starts out with like a bunch of fans chanting like "Free Britney" and like the whole
Yeah, that's a
Good
whole
one.
thing now.
That's pretty
Okay,
wild
we
that she
should-
can't. Okay,
We should get back to like
I'm
the
gonna
actual man
bulldoze
for
us
sight.
back on track here.
good
Um,
call.
Okay, so Chris and Paige had a moment. So we see Paige, and she gets this phone call from Chris, and he's like, "Hey, I would like." mumble. He mumbled for 5 minutes, and what he said was he would like her to get together with my ex-fiance, mother of my child. I like how he always uses that title for
He
her.
always says that.
Somebody on Reddit was like basically joking about how it was like a Game of Thrones title, how it's like, oh, like whatever, first of his
The
name,
mother of
line
dragons.
like,
And
Oh no.
because he always says my ex-fiance, mother of my child, as if that's like this whole. Anyways, it just it's over the top. So
It is.
you know, Paige is like gave the Christian response of I'm gonna have to get back to you. I need to pray on that, which is my favorite.
no, I want to use
I'm gonna
that
start
for
using
work.
that one.
Yeah.
Be like, Ashley, do you have those documents ready? I'm gonna have to get back to you. I gotta pray on that. Gonna have to work through some things.
It's like her way of not cussing him out at the moment. I mean, like this is
I'm gonna need to get Jesus involved as a mediator with this one.
right.
Do you
So,
think? Okay,
yeah.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, it's okay. What's up?
Do you think, like, you know, how she like does the whisper talk thing? Do you think she actually talks like that, or is that like her TV voice? I'm gonna get canceled. I'll shut up. I just like
Well-
she's always like, well, I need to pray on that. I'm like, you. There's like no energy unless you're like swearing at him, saying "fuck you," "fuck." Oh. F you on the phone to production. Like it's a wild to me how.
I could definitely see that because she is aware of she's being filmed and emotions are high, that she's really making sure that she's perceived as calm and the reasonable one. I'm sure. Yeah, I would assume that there's some level of filtering there, which is understandable. Like she doesn't want to become the stereotype of like the angry black woman, even though
Exactly.
she's totally justified to be angry and upset and have emotions. But
For sure.
you know, that's hard.
Well, I mean, like, so I know she has been like this, like, but we see that in a lot of people every year, every season. We're like, all right, well, this person's just trying to make sure to put on their best face, that kind of thing. And with Paige, though, we've seen her be like energized in two situations that I can recall right now. One was when she blew up like to the producer, not about the producer, but like about Chris, saying, I can't believe F him, forget her, F that B, everything. And he like it was very clear that Paige was showing all her emotions at this point.
For sure.
And then just now when we just watched like this, I don't even know what it's called, but like when she talks to the crew on the side and it's like the I don't know what to call it, but it's like
the one-on-one or
and-
something.
yeah, that kind of one-on-one
Whatever it is,
conversation.
yeah.
She's like laughing and a bit energized and kind of like showing all her how great she's like having, because like she really did come out on top of that conversation. She clearly showed how resilient, strong, you know, calm, controlled she can be. Like, and this man's not going to get to her, and this situation's not going to get to her. And then afterwards, she's just like, all right, I can let loose a little bit. I kind of would have liked to see that the whole time. Like, I mean, you have emotion, let it show.
Yeah. I think I don't know, maybe it's something where when she's actually around Chris, she doesn't want to give him the satisfaction of getting a rise out of her because he's so childish and how he's handling things that like the juxtaposition of her like very clear and calm
Yeah.
statements
I
of how
love
she
it.
feels
Yeah.
compared to him like leaning back and looking on his phone and mumbling.
Ugh.
And like, I didn't see his mouth open fully like that entire conversation. I swear to God. Like he's,
Except when he said he wasn't being respected.
except, oh, he's got to stand up for himself now because Chris is uncomfortable. Like, ooh, but I wonder if that's what it is, where it's like, I'm not going to give you the satisfaction of seeing like how upsetting everything about you and me together has been for me. So like, I'm just going to shut this down. And then once she's not around him, she can just be like, that guy, right? Like, you see that?
Right. I mean, it's
Yeah.
better though. Like he's just kind of, what is the thing? Like digging his own grave. It's just like he is looking terribly I'll check your hair, like looking terrible on his own. He is.
He did it all to himself. He set up
Exactly.
this meeting.
It's
I know. I can't.
like,
Girl.
I can't believe this. I'm amazed that he thought, like, what was he
idiots.
thinking? Okay, I really interrupted with that statement while Ashley was giving us the background on
Hey,
this.
we're here. It's cool. We are here.
But now that we're here, like, what the heck? Like you said, meet the mother of my child, mother of
First of her
dragons,
name.
whatnot.
Heir to the throne.
Daenerys. Breaker of chains, has to deal with my bullshit. Like I appreciate that she came to this thing, amazing, and then she comes there, and this man doesn't say a single word. He keeps on doing this weird scrunchy thing with his mouth, where he's just like, not talking, and like poor Mercedes and Paige are just like, hi,
Well,
do you have any questions? And just this, when she mentioned, like, I thought I could have been pregnant. Mercedes' face was just like, wait, what? I'm sorry.
what? Come back.
Bring that back again. And that's like when it slowly starts to turn and you're realizing, oh, this is going to blow up at his face here.
Oh, this is a bad idea.
I have never been so, like, it was perfect. It was like the perfect ending. Like, they could end their storyline here. This is all I needed. Like, him being a dick and an asshole for a few episodes, and then he gets his, like, his comeuppance at the end here. It was just,
It's very satisfying.
I was so satisfied with this. It was great.
I just
It's
like,
amazing.
what do you guys think he was trying to accomplish with this? Because one, I will say it is a possibility that this whole meeting was something that was suggested by production and wasn't Chris's original idea. Regardless, he's the one that asked Paige for the thing, and I'm sure he was involved in getting Mercedes to agree to show up as well. What do you think he was trying to accomplish with this meeting between the two women? Like, do you have any ideas? Because to me, it's like, I don't see what good could have come from it for him. I'm getting
Like,
blank
why?
stares. Like,
Why?
Right. Chris, I can only imagine, is doing this like last ditch effort to save face because he wants to somehow show the world that he is a good man, good God-fearing man
Good
that he always wants to
Christian
call
man.
himself. Like, whatever, dude. You're not. Like, you don't stop trying to sell that story. No one's buying it.
Christian man.
but then he didn't even talk. Like, that's the thing. I thought
my
he would have
God.
tried to guide the story there. But
Exactly.
that could have been editing, but it from his body language and from the moments we do see of him, as it's shown, he seemed very disengaged. to
Oh
say
yeah,
the least.
100%.
It's like he was expecting somehow them to interact in a way that would benefit him, because we know that Chris only does things that he thinks will benefit him. So this wasn't to clear the air. This wasn't to do anything. This was to somehow serve him and them getting together. I don't know if he expected them to fight and like have some sort of confrontation. I don't know if he expected, like, I don't know. I guess one of my theories was maybe it seems like Chris's ultimate goal here is to get back with Mercedes, that he wants to raise the child together and be together as a couple. So maybe he felt like, them all getting together and having her meet Paige would somehow like make her feel like Paige wasn't a threat or wasn't like a real relationship in quotes there, so that like Mercedes would feel more confident like to come back with him, especially since they have this child to worry about together now. But we're also at a point now where Paige is like really turned the corner and is very clear with herself that like this isn't going to work for me, And so
Right.
she has no reason not to be completely forthright about everything that's happened, because she doesn't have a dog in this fight anymore. She's like, no, I'm good. Like, I don't want this guy. You can have him. And here's some information that might help you make a good decision.
Exactly. And then Mercedes.
Yeah.
But we did hear Mercedes say that nothing is happening between them. So
I
that gave me the
love
impression.
that. I love that
Mercedes was
so
like-
much. She's like, it
you
seems
think-
like you think that I'm trying to get back together with him. I do not want this man. He is garbage. Oh, that was so great. Like, I think
Yeah.
I might have like stood up and walked around the room
He literally
clapping.
did.
I was just so happy. I was just like, yes, Mercedes, you get him.
Don't go back with the dude. Yeah. But then, like, so that made me wonder, did Chris, so he told his friend Pastor and the other friend in their conversation that he never really was attracted to her to begin with. He was trying to create, whatever you want to call it, some sort of attraction connection between them, but it never worked out.
Called it.
Right?
Just want to say, okay.
And then, like, now we're hearing that, oh, I want to be back with the mother of my child. Like, I really believe in raising my own child in my own household, et cetera, et cetera. But, like, that to me just says that, well, no, he just wanted that as the excuse to leave Paige with some sort of valid reason that you have a baby on the way. You just, found an out and now are taking it.
Yeah. Ugh. So this is where I wanted to like enjoy. So I purposely like skipped over that because I actually kind of agree with him more in that scene, and I'm sure we will get to it. I mean, whatever. We'll talk about it. Like, so it felt like his friends were his friend and pastoral guidance mentor.
Yeah.
Slash workout buddies, probably. I don't know. But like they were just like, they're like, she's a diamond, which is true. Like Paige is like, I know I say this every season, but Paige's DMs, oh my goodness, poppin'.
She will be
poppin'. Like if she doesn't end up with like a legit like amazing person, I would be shocked. How could you not watch this season? She's like literally like the ride or die.
Oh, yeah.
She was still behind him. Like, oh my goodness. Like, yeah. Like she's gonna be fine. She's gonna be fine. Like somebody please
100%.
go pursue Paige. But they kept on saying how she's a diamond and how awesome she is, which totally agree. And then how you don't, just because you have a child with this woman doesn't mean that you have to be with her. I get that. I get what they're saying. I understand what, like, if that was a bad relationship, just because you have a child with them, you can still raise them separately, co-parenting, whatnot. From what they know Chris more than we do. From the little that we've seen, Chris was the reason why that relationship didn't work out. Like, you can kind of tell. Like, it wasn't on Mercedes. It was probably on Chris. So if that's the case, I think he's doing the right thing by trying to do everything he possibly can to get that relationship back and make it work for the kid. Like, I don't see anything wrong with that. And trying to get him to stay back with Paige, who he said 10 million times that he's not attracted to her, it's just going to be him treating her like crap anyway. And then have a child somewhere else that is not getting attention. Like, at least it's a lot simpler for him to be with Mercedes, and they try to make that work. And let's let Paige out of this. Like,
that could be a good intention, like her and him, like Mercedes and Chris, to work things out if that's real and honest, though. But it doesn't seem like it is. It seems like it's this story Chris is trying to create to make it justifiable to like not be with Paige, because like even when they were on the couch, I would even say the whole scene, the only part in that whole scene that like made me think that maybe they were together was when they walked in the door together. Other than that, they were far apart on the couch, no body language leaning towards one another. They were barely communicating to one another, besides when they were arguing at the end and her being like, you're being ridiculous. Like, otherwise, like, what in that whole communication like made it seem like they were together,
Yeah, but like him not going back like two things can be correct, right? Like he can be a awful person, which we know, but it can also be the right thing. He could also be doing the right thing by trying to leave Paige. Like, I don't think that relationship is going to work for either of them. For Paige,
definitely not.
for him, like it's just a bad relationship. So them trying so hard to make sure that he stayed in it, and I get it. Like the pastor was looking at it from, you made vows. This is a marriage. I get that. This is a different type of marriage. Like I feel like no one wants to say
no
the
one wants to say
reality.
that. Yeah.
Like no one wants to say the reality. This is a different type of marriage. If they had been dating for 5 years and blah blah blah, like I would be completely. He just met her. This is not. This is a different type of marriage. Normal marriages you don't get to have a decision day halfway through a few
Every
months
day is
in it.
decision day.
You know, like I just like let him go. Now, I'm saying that, but then he'll then say, "Oh, I'm falling in love with you." Back to Paige, and then he's back to being a dick and an awful person.
Because he's so concerned about his image. That's what we see over and over and over and over and over and over and over. So I think you're completely right. I think if we just consider the Chris and Paige marriage and imagine that the Mercedes thing that whole storyline had never happened, just that marriage, I would say you guys need to go your separate ways. Because outside of that whole thing of like, oh, my ex is pregnant, all of this stuff around that, Chris has shown us in a lot of different ways that he doesn't have the emotional capacity, the communication skills, the instincts to be a good partner for her. And she is like a ride or die and a diamond, as we said, and she would put up with a lot of stuff. And I think that would have been a situation where they would have stayed together. And she would have made it work, and he would just be looking for any reason to explain why he's leaving her and why that's okay in a way that somehow maintains his image, because again, he's very image conscious. If he doesn't, in his eyes, if she isn't this, I guess, visual diamond of someone who is up to his standards of whatever that is, then that's a reflection on him of oh, you got that type of girl and that means this about you, which is all bullshit. But if that's how he sees it, then he's trying to find some way out to save face. And so that to me in itself means that marriage is not something that you go forward with. And I agree. I think we're looking at these marriages, and I think everyone has either the opinion of nope, this is a real marriage, you gotta make it work no matter what. And then other people think of it as this is an experiment still. You are being paired with someone, and you could there's so many things that they wouldn't know about, that they could put you with someone who there's just something about it that's just really not going to work for you. And that's okay to walk away from that and just consider it a wash and well, I gave it a shot. I put myself out there. That's awesome. Yeah. And so I get the pastor and the friend having that perspective, because I think they're both married. So they definitely have that feeling of I made a commitment to this person, and they're going to be my person until we pass away. and Chris is coming at it as I'm kind of just trying this out, but saying that it was kind of a different thing. So we're on completely different pages here with it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But
That's true.
Calling him selfish.
Different pages with Paige, but
different pages with Paige. Calling him selfish, saying, hey, that's the thing that I find very frustrating, where it's well, you need to, him not wanting Paige doesn't mean that Paige is less awesome. Paige is amazing. And she deserves to be with someone who is as ride or die with her. And I think that's the way you summarize that's perfect, I guess, for how I feel as well. Of, if they stay together, he is just going to constantly take advantage of her. That's what 100%. This is. Yeah. It's going to be him doing more crazy stuff. She's going to stay in there because that's what she does. While meanwhile, she could be with someone who is also going to be all in with her. And then she'll be all in with that person. And they are going to be an amazing couple. And they're probably going to be that couple that you get annoyed being around. But they'll be great and perfect and awesome. And that's what she deserves. And just the whole idea of it kills me that everyone is trying to convince him to stay Like, who cares if he wants to stay in this or not? Like, at
Better
this
for
point,
her that he leaves.
at this point, I'm more concerned with, like, those friends should have went to Paige and said, hey, he's our friend, but he's garbage. You could do better. Like, that's what they should be doing, not talking to their friend. Like, you know your buddy. You know how he behaves. And I think someone like a Mercedes is better for him anyway. Like, someone who's willing to say, you know what, I'm not going to put up with this. I'll leave. And then he does all this to fight to get back with her. That's what he needs. He needs someone who is a lot more...
Keeps him accountable.
Who keeps him accountable. And Paige wasn't doing that. No fault of her own, but he's just going to take advantage of that. So I think that's why I was so upset.
And I really hope that Paige is able to find that person that is just as ride or die with her. But it worries me because, like, I mean, like you just mentioned it, she isn't that person to, like, hold him accountable. And so if it weren't for all of this baby ex-fiance drama, like you mentioned it, they would have stayed together.
Definitely.
And that she would have been taken advantage of. Like, that doesn't matter. Like, it wouldn't have, like, you know what I mean? It, like, none of it would have made a difference. All this, like, he's not physically attracted to her, whatever, like, she would have stayed. No matter what.
To be fair to Paige, I think in her normal dating life, because that's the thing, right? They're married, right? So I feel like if she was dating a Chris, by, like, date 2, you'd know this guy is garbage. And I would imagine she would hopefully start to pull back, where, like, when you are... on paper you guys are married, like, I get why you would, I think that's why that ride or die side is being shown so much, where, like, she's on this show because she hasn't, like, if she was like this with every relationship, she would be in a bad relationship right now and wouldn't be on this show, right? Maybe. So I'm hoping that's the case.
I kind of get this feeling that Paige, within the context of a marriage, that, like, boundaries shouldn't exist, because we see her establishing boundaries now that she's not in this relationship anymore, and she's kind of looking at it from a different angle. But that covenant, that word that they use a lot to describe this, and, like, the marriage itself as a concept, I got the feeling that she was like, I can't set a boundary because, like, this is an us thing now. So, like, things like having sex when she doesn't really want to, or going along with, like, yeah, I'll help you raise this child with another woman because, like, we're in this marriage, and you're not gonna look after my dog or anything, but, this is a marriage, so I'm gonna, you know what I mean? But, like, boundaries are, I think, even more important when you're talking about trying to be with someone forever, where I read this thing where it was like, boundaries are the distance that I can love both you and myself. And I like that a lot, because it's like, you're both getting what you need. And, like, if you don't have those, you're setting yourself up to be taken advantage of. Your needs aren't being met. Your partner's needs probably aren't being met. Like, nothing's really being managed. And I think that's one of the biggest lessons maybe we can learn from them is, if, like, imagine their whole storyline from the beginning, if Paige had prioritized those boundaries, and this isn't to, like, fault her or say she did anything wrong, like, that's not at all what I'm saying, but it would be a very different story if maybe that first night he was, like, kind of, trying to, like, be intimate or whatever, and she was like, hey, like, I really like you, I think this is great, I just want to, like, hold on the intimacy for a little bit, like, this is what I'm comfortable with, this is what I'm not, like, I hope you'll respect that, like, what are your expectations, like, kind of having that conversation. And he could have, like, become upset at that and been like, no, you, like, owe me this stuff now that we're married and stuff, and that could have, like, elevated these conversations earlier about how he feels about things, without it having to be a thing where he's just kind of stomping all over her, and, like, it's just kind of happening, and she's not okay, but she's kind of going with it, and that could have raised these things up earlier, is all I'm trying to say. And
no,
those are all really good points.
Really, really good points. And, like, I've been listening to another podcast that I think, like, Kev on Stage is his name, but, like, they've been covering the show too, and they're, like, all 4 people on the show, they seem to be very they from very religious backgrounds, and they, like, kind of describe how, like, this is a risk that happens, that they've seen in some relationships, where one of the people feels like I have to do whatever because I'm in this and there's no getting out, and I need to do whatever I need to do to make this work. And while I get the idea of that, you're right, Ashley. Like, I kind of view it more like it's a partnership. Like, from a business perspective, if your partner isn't working out, you close the partnership. If it's not working out for both people, I think it's the best thing for them to stop it. But that's a very different way of viewing a relationship. And I get, like, you know, if you're viewing it from a religious point of view, that might not be an option. Like, the option is make sure you find the right person, because once you find that person, that's it. It is
You're
what
stuck.
it is. So I get how it can be viewed very differently.
Yeah.
And like, I think that like point of view of, all right, we're going to stay in this together no matter what. You can still do that, but then have boundaries as well. Like, she could say, all right, we're stuck in this marriage together, but I don't feel like being intimate. Also, we're assuming she could have wanted it, you know, like.
I just say that because she mentioned later that she felt obligated, like that she consented but felt obligated, which is not a great word to be around sex.
No.
Exactly.
I think there's a way of doing that and still maintaining your boundaries, where her saying, like, hey, like, there are people who are in marriages who go on for months not liking each other, and then they reconnect. Like, maybe that's the type of situation should have done with a Chris. Like, hey, on paper we're together, but until you get your crap together, like, know this, know that, we're not going to be around each other. And then basically what he's doing now with Mercedes, where he's like trying to make it right. There has to be some pushback there, because he just doesn't strike me as smart enough to have that level of, and maybe it's a very mean thing to say, but I don't think he's able to. Some people would be okay with that, and they would realize, oh, you know what, I'm pushing it right now, let me fall back. He doesn't have that. He has no self-awareness at all. So you gotta push back. You have to.
And like we keep mentioning, this is a different kind of marriage. The other person knows nothing about you. So you have that freedom to say, hey, just to let you know, this is how I am, this is how I'm feeling, this is where I'm at. It's not to say anything bad or mean to the other person. It's just you're both getting to know each other. But if you don't say anything and you, like, act like everything's golden, like, the other person might not know. I agree. I think Chris is a little behind the times a little bit. Like, he just doesn't, like, pick up on that stuff. Like, it's just, most of us would be like, wow, that's kind of crappy. I shouldn't be treating this other person that way. I'm going to check myself before they need to check me. Chris isn't doing that, though.
Yeah. It doesn't seem like he's ever really been held accountable for the way he acts around people. And maybe he's just been in environments where, like, it just hasn't been worth it to other people to try to manage him. So he can just kind of stumble through those things, and he never gets that lesson. So this is a lesson for him. I hope he can take it and reflect on everything that's happened and have a little bit more self-awareness about his part in everything. But I think this is a good wake-up call in some ways for him, that, like, oh, I didn't get what I wanted. Like, what happened? And all right, so I want to make sure that we talk about Ryan and Clara before we wrap up here. The thing that just stood out to me was that Clara is very sexually frustrated right now and is not afraid to talk about it. She, like, has alluded to that, like, they've done some things but not all the things, and her needs are not being met in that department. And we've seen this with couples in the past too. Like, this isn't new, that they're people are moving at different speeds. And also
he's the Greg in this. I mean, he's the Deanna in the Greg and Deanna analogy that we've been using.
Yeah, for sure. And, like, we've seen this with Miles and Karen when it comes to intimacy, and this isn't new. How do you guys think that they're handling that? Because it's like, Clara is openly talking about how frustrated she is, and we don't really get him to, he's not talking about it very much.
She even made the joke in front of everybody, I haven't seen my husband without a shirt on. I was like, oh,
right.
That's awkward.
Is that a joke or is that for real? Because how does that work?
I know.
You
was
live
like,
together.
No showers around the partner. No showers. Like,
excuse me, you need to leave. This is
like, if he comes out of the shower, is he like is
That's a
Is he
goose
hiding
joke.
his
He always
nipples?
does that.
Right.
It's like, all right.
That's my favorite.
That's hilarious.
He's being modest.
I mean, it seems to be that like Ryan's okay with everything. It's just like Clara's not, and she's kind of just like going with whatever Ryan wants. From the, hey, we're not going to talk about our sex life with anybody else. Hey, we're going to be private, not talk about things on camera. And now, I mean, it just seems like maybe Clara is kind of like, all right, I'm just going to kind of sit here and wait and eventually work itself out. And yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, to be fair to Ryan, it has been 2.5 weeks probably at this point. So, yeah, it's interesting. Like, I think stereotypically it's the guy that's trying and the girl that's not, and to see it the other way around. Yeah, I don't know. I think my concern is, so when Brianna and who else came over? It was like
Brianna
the girls.
and Haley came over?
Yeah.
Brianna and Haley. They when they came over because her friends were sick. Clara's friends were sick with something.
During COVID.
Who knows what?
And they couldn't be around other people.
Yeah, during a pandemic.
They just have to stay at home right now for a set amount of time. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, don't ask details. It's fine. But there's a line she said that I found very interesting that they threw that in there. She's like, oh, she's being very, I wasn't expecting Clara to be so, like, I think she said like wife-like or something, or like she was like kind of preparing everything and being very, very much in the like being a good host mode. And I think I took that as she kind of views Clara as similar to like Virginia, of more of the party mode, not really more of a wild child. And I wonder, like, you can kind of see that Ryan does appear to be a little bit more conservative with his viewpoints sometimes, which, completely fine. But I wonder if that is unattractive to him, that she isn't as
I don't know.
Because I think the risk with that is sometimes if you are one of those people who's very regimented, you kind of view people who don't do that as immature, right? And I think that's the thing that if I did have a concern, that would be it, that he kind of views her as immature. And we've kind of seen in the previews of the upcoming episode where she's like, oh, I don't want to hear a lecture. And I feel like you're lecturing me and trying to be a life coach. As we know from this episode, the editors do some crazy stuff on these previews, so you can't really take it at face value. But when I saw that, I was like, oh, I already was worried about this. This could be the issue. Like, this could be the, like, I think you're awesome. I think we agree on a lot of stuff, but I don't know if you're mature or grown up in that sense. And that's a hard thing to fix if they do have that issue.
I never thought about it that way, but like Ryan gives me the impression of being one of those polite people who like knows how to be really nice to your face and what to say, and is very appropriate for the setting. But like in his head, he has like, call it judgment. I don't know what you want to call it, but like a lot of other stuff he's not saying. And maybe that could be the case with him. I don't know. I mean, otherwise they seemed like they were getting along and at least like enjoying his company, seemed to have really long conversations, but maybe there's a lot more there.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like they just need that time and to try as best as they can to suspend judgment. I think it's hard, especially when I could imagine being Clara, if like you felt ready to be close in that way with your person and they didn't, that could lead down this whole other road of like questioning if they are attracted to you or if you are compatible in that way because you don't really know yet, and like what does all this mean, like is it something about me or something I'm doing? And so I hope that they are having open conversations about that behind the scenes. I would I would think that that's happening, and I'm sure we're not going to ever hear about that, considering how private they already are. But I don't know. I think it's just kind of, we're seeing it kind of similar to how we see it with Eric and Virginia. They're kind of these two ends of the spectrum in terms of like the kind of stable, routine focused person, and then the more social butterfly kind of other end of the spectrum. And I think they're just finding where to meet in the middle. I don't know if I've seen anything yet that's like, oh, this is a reason that they won't stay together, but it's definitely something that they will have to talk about a lot and compromise on to get through the process enough to like feel like we're good, we're gonna really be doing this. So I don't know.
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see with them.
We'll see.
I mean, are you guys leaning more towards they'll stay together, or
Oh, yeah.
won't stay
I think
together?
so.
Right now, I think so.
You think so, Go?
I mean, I think this time of the season, I'm always like, I don't think anyone's gonna stay together. So I don't right now. They just seem very different in that point of view. So I'd probably lean more towards no, but I don't know. I wonder, like, yeah, I think they seem cordial around each other, but like you said, I take that as him. Like, he's not going to be one of those people who's going to say the wrong thing. Like, he's smart and measured with his words. So even if he didn't like her, he's not going to say that. So it's hard for me to like go off of those interactions, you know?
Yeah, that's fair.
I don't know.
Right. Okay. Well, we have talked through a lot of different things today. So I think we're good to wrap up. But next time we're going to be covering episode 9. I don't know what exactly, like, what's the milestone for next week? Is it just them continuing to live together, or is there anything?
Do you think is it like the 1 month anniversary yet?
Oh, that
no, I
could
think it's
be.
too early, maybe.
Maybe not.
No, I think we have another episode or so.
Okay. Well, something's happening next episode, which we'll be talking about next time. There's my very good description of foreshadowing there. So thanks for joining us today. This has been Cup of Three. Please go join us on Instagram at Cup of Three Podcast. We are on podcast apps as well as YouTube. And yeah, if you have any thoughts on, you know, what we've talked about with these episodes or the couples, like, please reach out and we can include that in a future episode.
Yes.
We'd love to hear from you. So thanks for joining us.
Oh, sorry, just to add, please send us memes of Married at First Sight. Like, that's been so fun. We've been going through,
the memes have been
Ashley's
really
been going through like Reddit to see the memes. Fantastic. Just
That's great.
high quality memes, and I really appreciate all the hard work that people on Reddit do to curate this.
Absolutely. They've been very good.
Thank you so much, guys.
Okay.
And,
Thank you.
We'll catch you next time. See you guys. Goodbye.
Until next time. Bye.